Welcome friends to another Dune video. Today we look at the Fremen, their food and jewellery, and then move on to their education and how this has changed under the influences of Kynes, Muad'dib and Leto II. General spoilers throughout, let's get straight into it. Amongst the Fremen, young men wear talismans or medallions that show important religious events such as commemorating the jihad. Older men wore chains with small rings, showing the water rings they had won in battle. The women would wear the family's water rings at their waist, braided into hair or as part of a headdress. All other clothing was worn, with the idea to protect against the sun and the drying winds of Arrakis. The food the Fremen ate was of a healthy type. Donkeys provided the milk, which was made into other foodstuffs. Fruits consisted of dates, figs and apricots. More was imported from Caladan, such as the melon, and for conservation they would convert food into conserves of pickled or dried types. Root crops were also grown, as they could cope with the environment, such as tabaroot, and were looked after by the children of the tribe in gardens. Meat made of desert hare or fowl were common, and could be made into a stew mixed with roots, and this would be fortified with Fremen flatbread, which could also act as a plate for the stew. They would eat 2 meals a day. One would be light and ate at sunset, and a heavier supper at dawn, and they would drink hot spiced coffee. Those with more money, and I do think of the Baron and his family here in Arrakeen, during their rule, would import food to meet their own expensive tastes. A child under the Fremen would go through training on how to live their life and survive on Arrakis. All the people of the tribe would contribute towards that, as the tribe would depend on them for the community to continue. For example, the water discipline and danger when out on the open sand. One way they were taught would be riddles. Here's an example. Challenge. What does one take into the desert? Answer. Everything that is necessary and nothing else. The Dune Encyclopedia tells us the young were trained to make and service still suits, rugs, wind traps, still tents and weapons. That they learned how to maintain stolen machines, harvest spice, hunt, use a crysknife, repair a catch basin, and of course, ride Shahulud. The planetologist Padot Kynes changed this with his focus on a dream of making a paradise world from Arrakis. So added to the Fremen education was plant life to help nurture that dream. Then the Atreides came, and the Fremen abandoned Kynes' dream to be his arm of strength in an interstellar religious war, the Fremen Jihad. At that time, the school taught interstellar assault tactics in the Arrakeen War College. The Fremen also forgot siege discipline with this, and as the Dune Encyclopedia says, in a short 15 years, Paul and Alia Atreides were able to bleed the Fremen of their courageous young men and women, while on the home front, Atreides' policies made Fremen culture soft, dependent, wasteful and impotent. Then came Leto II, the God Emperor of Dune. He focused the Fremen on the agricultural skills needed to keep the Fremen villages going, and all but ended travel, and a lot of knowledge in the Arrakeen War College was lost to stop it being used for harm. Without that struggle to live, the Fremen lost much. Over time, the Fremen people became an endangered species and moved into Fremen museums to act as a dead and fake culture for tourists. Leto hoped to preserve it in this way, but it was a hollow life. Nothing could be sold within the Fremen museums themselves, but the Dune Encyclopedia tells us of the following. Rings of vendors sprang up there. One could buy plastic crysknives and maker hooks, clearly stamped with their planet of manufacture, Gidi Prime. Stuffed toys in the shape of sandworms, siege models to be cut out and assembled, still-suited dolls, all were available to the tourist desiring a souvenir, but not worried much about its authenticity. And worse, you could have your fortune told by a sayadina or drink fake spiced coffee. Even the once sacred rituals the Fremen performed were now presented to tourists. For example, the ceremony of the seed, where they would consecrate the water of life, was done on the hour before bleachers full of pilgrims. There were carnivals without respect for the past. From Kynes to Paul to Leto's long reign, this is the sad end that awaits the Fremen, a once strong, fierce people. Now friends, I turn this over to you. What do you think to the tragic downfall of the Fremen under the influence of the Atreides and others? Comment down below.